Miss Pinewood,
Recently, many of the local restaurants have changed their small size option to a whopping 64 ounces.
that's correct. And it's great for the consumer. More bang for the buck.
Then there is a horrifying 512 ounce version that they call child size. How is this a child size soda?
Well, it's roughly the size of a 2-year-old child if the child were liquefied. It's a real bargain at $1.59.
Because the formula for Sweetums soda was 400% of children's daily intake of sugar, the FDA has required that they reformulate. They've got 2 new formulas, but now they're wondering if kids are going to be able to tell the difference between the old formula and the new formula. With 400% sugar, I'm going to say they're going to be able to tell. The Sweetums company has 4 different ways to structure their experiment. You should pause the video, read the 4 different ideas, and try to rank them from best to worst. Okay, of these 4, I think the best one is A. A features randomly selecting participants. Now B and D were both recruiting 200 volunteers. That's a little bit different. If you ask people if they want to participate in a study about Sweetums soda, you're going to get people who probably really like Sweetums soda, and they're going to be more likely to notice the difference between the 2 formulas. Randomly selecting participants is going to help ensure that you don't have any bias like that. So A and C both start off better because they have randomly selected participants. And then after that, A seems better because they are randomly assigning the treatments. They're randomly assigning 100 participants to A and 100 to B, and then they're going to compare the results. C, on the other hand, let participants choose if they want treatment A or B. Now, if they just call them treatment A and B, I guess the participants won't really know which one is which. But in general, you shouldn't let your participants choose which treatment they're getting. Because if they knew the options were old formula and new formula, and you let people choose, what if all of the people who really love the old formula pick the old formula? You're not really getting an unbiased opinion from people. This is a little more of a problem in like a real world study. I mean, I don't know, to me the world of Parks and Rec is very real. But in a real world study, let's say you have some kind of medication that's supposed to, I don't know, like lower your blood pressure. And you let people choose, do you want to take the new drug or do you want to take the old drug that doesn't work very well? The people who are more interested in their health are probably going to choose the new drug, knowing that the old drug doesn't work very well. And the people who are more interested in their health are going to be generally more healthy in the first place. So you might end up with like the new drug only being administered to people who exercise and eat healthy and like do research about how to keep their blood pressure down. And the people who don't do all those things end up taking the old drug. So in general, you want to randomly assign participants to your 2 treatments. Okay, so A is definitely the best. I would say B is probably the worst. Now, once you've conducted your study, there is something called scope of inference that basically tells you who you can make conclusions about and what conclusions you can make. So first things first, if you randomly select participants, you can make conclusions about the entire population you selected from. So in this case, if they randomly selected 200 people from Pawnee, they could make conclusions about all people in Pawnee. If they randomly selected 200 people from the state of Indiana, they could make conclusions about all the people in Indiana. If they recruit 200 volunteers instead of randomly selecting them, they can only make conclusions about those 200 volunteers, which might still be interesting, but I don't think that's what they're going for. So that's the first part of scope of inference. The second part has to do with the randomly assigning. If you randomly assign participants to your treatments, you can conclude there's a cause and effect relationship. So if they go with design A or C, they can say, yes, there's a cause and effect relationship between the type of formula and whether or not people like the soda. If you let people choose which treatment they're going to take, you can't conclude cause and effect. There's some limitations to studying humans, like reasonable limitations. You can't put anybody in danger when you're doing an experiment, so you can't always get things perfect. But in general, those are the 2 things you want to look out for. Make sure you can randomly select people to be in the study. That way you can conclude about the population. And make sure you randomly assign treatments. That way you can conclude there's a cause and effect relationship. I don't know, some days I feel like I could use some Sweetums products, you know?
There's some secret ingredient in these Nutri-Yum bars that make me feel so good.
Sugar. It's a block of sugar.
Just wake up a little bit.